Welcome to Unsheltered Conversations. I'm Scott Larson. Today, we're talking about a pioneering project in Colorado, Tall Tales Ranch, a shared housing community for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, also known as IDD, built in partnership with HomeAid Colorado. Joining me are Cindy Bell, the executive director of HomeAid Colorado, and Laura McKenna, who helped guide the vision from her earlier work at HomeAid to now leading Tall Tales as their executive director. This conversation today is about design, disability, dignity, and truly a long-term local partnership. As we begin, I truly want to welcome both of you to the conversation. And Cindy, I want our listeners to know a little bit about you. And in some aspects, you've been leading HomeAid Colorado since 2018. But I want our listeners to know that you are, as I call, the HomeAid OG employee. And you've played so many roles in HomeAid when, prior to being the executive director for HomeAid Colorado, you were on the board, you've been a volunteer, you've been part of the building industry, but way back in the day, you were one of the first original HomeAid employees in Orange County, California. So I think this is just an exciting day to have this conversation with you. I think you're one of the few people that touch on so many different points in your job, your career, your work. And I'm just glad that you're here today. So
thank you.
As we step into this, Cindy, how did HomeAid Colorado first get involved with Tall Tales?
Well, Laura's going to be able to answer this probably a little bit better than me, but I get to do it first. So it was back in 2017 that Laura and Susan Mooney, who is the founder of Tall Tales, started talking about Susan's vision and the inclusive community that her and Pat really wanted to build. And so she was talking to Laura about it. The application from Tall Tales Ranch came to us in August of 2018. And today I realized that I came to HomeAid as the executive director in August of 2018 also. So I didn't think about that before, but I was a board member when we first started talking about it. And the project application was received in 2018. I think, Laura, though, you were the one that really got it passed through the board and everything else. And it's been a long haul, but it's been a great process.
Yeah. So Laura, as people get to know you, you actually were the executive director for HomeAid Colorado for over 16, almost 17 years.
Yeah.
And how did your experience working for HomeAid, both regionally and then nationally, how did that inform your vision and ultimately joining the leadership of Tall Tales Ranch?
I'm not sure I would be doing this if I hadn't been with HomeAid, actually, even though, my early background is in developmental disabilities. The fact that this is a project that I'm passionate about because of the nature of the people that we're going to be able to serve through this project is really, I'm passionate about them. But the fact that it's a new construction project and that we could build from the ground up using the resources that HomeAid has and knowing what those resources are and already knowing what that process is and knowing the capacity of HomeAid in the building industry and learning myself a lot about the building industry in those 20 years, including the time with HomeAid America, just seemed like the perfect fit to me. I don't think I could do it without that HomeAid experience. And I also, I'm still the biggest HomeAid cheerleader because when I say what HomeAid will do for Tall Tales Ranch, people are like, they blow it off most of the time. They're like, that's not going to happen. I'm like, no, I have 20 years of evidence that it really can make a difference. And so I really wouldn't be here without that experience from HomeAid.
So really, both of your long-term working relationship and personal relationship has really shaped the unfolding of this project. It is intimately intertwined with both of you being, in your executive director roles with HomeAid, but then now working in partnership with Tall Tales Ranch. Laura, for people that are listening to this, describe the mission and the vision for Tall Tales Ranch, and especially the model for working with, as we call, neurodiverse living and people that might be, in that sphere, and then ultimately, uh, th- how is this working ultimately when this project comes along?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's a really interesting start to Tall Tales Ranch because it's kind of unique in that our founders, Pat and Susan Mooney, have a son, Ross, who was born as a neurotypical child and then acquired an autoimmune disease that affected the white matter in his brain. It started to deteriorate. And so he basically has an acquired brain injury and functions very much like someone with an intellectual disability. They were able to stop that through a bone marrow transplant, but the damage was done. Susan and I kind of joke because she has a background in teaching and special ed before Ross got sick. I had a background in developmental disabilities before I had my son, who has an intellectual disability, and they're both similar in age. But we, as parents, knew there wasn't anything out there that we really liked for our children to have. And if we felt that way, we know that that's how other parents felt as well. What they really envisioned, and this is honestly why I jumped on the bandwagon for with Tall Tales Ranch. I always joke with Susan that I was stalking her for her job for a few years when she decided she needed to back out a bit. Is that neuro-inclusive concept? In that our children and the public schools have done a really good job, in my opinion, at least where my kids have gone at being neuro-inclusive, whether it's sports, classes, they're like the rock stars of the schools. It's been a phenomenal experience, but they're used to being included with everybody. And then they go through this experience where they graduate and go into the real world and just fall off a cliff. They're back to being segregated. There's not this inclusion with people very similar, the same age as them that want to hang out and do things. So what the Moonies really envisioned was this neuro-inclusive community, and it started with what we call the Young Professional Board. It's neuro-inclusive. It's part people without disabilities and part people with disabilities, and they just hang out and have a great time. They create a vision for Tall Tales, so that neuro-inclusion is already kind of happening. But we want it to happen residentially. We want it to happen in a work environment. We want it to happen socially. And so the residential piece, when we are all built, will be people with developmental disabilities, but also people without developmental disabilities. It'd probably be like a 60-40 or probably a 70-30 kind of split, mostly IDD. But we're doing that because we know that's what our ambassadors, as we call them, want. They want to live in that environment. And we know that it's better for everybody, not just those individuals that have an IDD, but everyone.
You've thrown out, and we've talked about the term neurodiverse. If this is the first time someone has heard that term, how would you describe it to them? And how would they walk away with going, I've never heard that term before. How would you describe the definition of neurodiverse?
So neurodiverse is basically anybody, really. Neurodiverse means it could be someone who's a genius, or it could be somebody with a profound developmental disability. So we're bringing in people together. And we talk a lot about diversity when it comes to ethnicity, but we forget our disabled partners in that diversity conversation most of the time. And so we're including people together who have a developmental disability, who might have autism, Down syndrome, a brain injury, with people who don't. So anybody else it falls into that population. The point is integration for everybody.
No, that's great. And hopefully it will cause people to pause and think, well, maybe I'm on the maybe I'm neurodiverse, or
Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
and it's just a term that I think it's really important for people to understand, particularly in light of this conversation. So Cindy, when you look at it from HomeAid's perspective, how did this project resonate either with you personally and HomeAid Colorado's goals and vision? Because this is a little outside of maybe what might have been considered a normal project for HomeAid to have adopted.
Well, there's a statement in Tall Tales Ranch brochure. Laura, I cheated and I'm gonna read it, but it says, "Tall Tales Ranch, because neurodiversity, opportunity, and inclusion deserve a home." And HomeAid is all about dignified, safe housing for everyone, and so it really fit to me, the HomeAid mission that this is what we all needed to do. The board was on board the entire time we've been talking about it. And all of our partners, all of the trades, builders, everybody involved is very happy to do this. And I think it has made us more aware of the IDD population and the needs out there, and the fact that there is a big risk of, or at risk of, homelessness that we never really were aware of before. So it's been a good awareness for us. And HomeAid is, about safe, dignified housing. And that's what Tall Tales Ranch is going to be for our community.
So, Cindy, you mentioned a couple of you referenced partners. You've already collaborated with Shea Homes and others like Norse Design to develop and look at what will be these accessible cottages and community spaces. What is making these partnerships special for them and aligning with maybe their mission? You talked about that it's for you, but speak on behalf of some of your partners like Shea or Norse Design.
Well, Shea Homes is a big partner with HomeAid America, HomeAid nationally, obviously. And then here in Colorado, they are a great partner to HomeAid. They've been on board with the Tall Tales Ranch project since the very beginning. Cheddar Latcham he loves this concept. Shea is all about community and building community across the country. And here in Colorado, they love the Tall Tales Ranch project. They have been a big cheerleader with all of their trades, and their leadership team has been great. We meet monthly right now, and I know that all of us are chomping at the bit to get started on it. But I think the Shea team is probably more excited than anybody else to get started. They've been great about reaching out to all of their trades and getting them on board and making sure that everyone knows why we're doing this. And they've been fabulous. And then Norris Design has been involved in the site plans, and they've worked right along Tall Tales since the very beginning, I believe, Laura. And I think with them being involved in this project, Norris Design has actually been more engaged with HomeAid on many other levels. They've always been a long time supporter, but now they're even a bigger advocate for HomeAid.
And I think you're touching on one of the beauty, or what we call the magic within HomeAid, because when you're aligning the mission of an organization like Tall Tales with the heart and passion and inherently the mission of people in the building industry, you just see it blossom. You see it happen in ways that otherwise can't. In just a normal, traditional, I'm going to hire a contractor type of work. So Laura, when you transitioned from being involved with HomeAid directly to Tall Tales, and you got into looking at physical design of the property and the concept of these paired cottages and a community barn, you're near light rail. How does all of that supporting neuro inclusion and building community? Describe a little bit about the passion and the vision behind what we call the built environment for your
Right.
community.
Once again, that's one of the other things that really drew me to this project is obviously most of our individuals don't drive. And it just worked out that the Schweiger Ranch Foundation provided us this land, and it's directly across the street from a light rail station. So we're teaching our ambassadors already. We're doing training on how to use public transportation and how to use the light rail. So the location gives them access to the greater community. That's really important to us because we don't want to in any way think of this as an institutional environment. So they have access to that. But in our community, we'll have 28 apartment units for up to 32 people, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. We'll have a concierge on site. We have 24 hours staff on site. They get to go out and do whatever they want. They get to work with any provider they want. They get to have their friends over. We're going to facilitate friendships because that's one of the reasons why we will exist is very difficult for someone with IDD just to, everybody's like, integrate into the community. Well, the community doesn't know how to integrate them into the community. And so we're kind of the facilitators of that. We'll have a resource center kind of / clubhouse in between the 2 apartments that will have, if people want to eat together, if we have a workout room, we'll have a movie room, or things like that people can do. Not overdoing it because, once again, we want them to go to the movies. We want them to go to the rec center. We want them to go out shopping. So that's all for the residents. And then we will have the community event barn, which we're really excited about. It hopefully will be a revenue source as well. We'll rent it out for small conferences, weddings, receptions. all of things like that. We'll have our offices eventually in that space as well, but attached to that will be our actual brick and mortar coffee shop too, so that we're providing employment. This whole community, I always, like I say, it's always about three things: living, working, and socializing. And the working side of things, the fact that we're on the light rail, there's so many businesses near us, and we have spent the last 10 years integrating already into the Lone Tree community that are excited about working with our individuals, hiring our individuals. And so that whole concept of a community within a community basically is what we're building.
And that's exciting, and that's what the vision is. So what today, what is the daily lived experience for some of your what will be your residents?
So
That's what you're building, but what's life like today?
yeah, that's really why we're building is the majority. I want to kind of tag on to what Cindy said about the people who are at risk of experiencing homelessness, and that is this population. When I was at HomeAid America, I remember going through the whole study of the National Alliance to End Homelessness and the study, and each year, and I remember they were like, in the next few years, the greatest risk populations are seniors and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And the reason why is because of those seniors,
Yes.
that our children are living at home with us still because there aren't great options, but we're all getting older. And most of our individuals that we hope to have live at Tall Tales Ranch are about 95% are living at home right now with aging caregivers. And that are at least 60. We have some that their parents are in their 80s. And so they're at risk of homelessness. Their opportunities are homelessness, institutionalization, or hopefully social services picks up something when their parents pass away or can't care for them anymore. So they're home by their parents, and their families love them. That's not the issue. It's just that they're at a loss as to where their children can go when they're too old to care for them. A lot of them do have jobs still, and they do, or they might have a day program that they go to. So what I like that we're doing is we're trying to already build that community before they live at Tall Tales. So we have a life skills class. We teach financial management. We teach daily living. We teach socialization skills. We so they have those opportunities in transportation. So that's happening now as well as the social skills and then some work training as well. So we're trying to make it as easy for them to integrate when they move in as possible.
Yes, you're really seeing it come alive today
Yeah,
without the
absolutely.
built environment yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Cindy, let's go back to on your end, this project expanding the thinking about homeless solutions and beyond traditional shelters into inclusiveness and permanent supportive housing. Do you have other projects that are similar to this or kind of describe some of the aspects of where HomeAid Colorado is at as you're looking to adopt a project? Because this is an important thing to look at is literal homelessness, at risk of homelessness. How is this guiding and directing HomeAid Colorado in a broader way?
I think here at HomeAid Colorado, we work with a lot of organizations that are helping people at risk of homelessness. And it's all about community. I think all of the organizations we partner with are all about community, whether it's helping individuals overcoming addiction or escaping a bad relationship. They need that community. They need that peer group, that support to help them build confidence and independence to make them self sufficient and help them rebuild their lives. But I would say all of the organizations we work with really are about community. And like Laura just talked about, Tall Tales Ranch is all about community too. And I think that is so important. And so we at Homemade Colorado, I would say most of the organizations that we have been working with and we continue to work with are helping people that are at risk of homelessness. So we feel like we're investing in the future for those people so that they won't be on the street or couch surfing or anything like that. If we help them now, it prevents them from being homeless in the future. So I think that bringing this project forward allows us to get the word out about the IDD community and what struggles at risk of homelessness will be for them. And, you know, it's taken a long time for us to get to the point we're at now. But during that 7 years that we've been talking about Tall Tales, we've been through many board of directors and we've been through many homemade committees. And supporters and people that attend our fundraising events and hear about Tall Tales. And so we are spreading the word about how important the IDD community is and finding ways to be able to support it in a bigger way.
So it really is, as we talk about with HomeAid, building a future without homelessness.
Mhm.
So Laura, what is next? Is there, I mean, I hate to ask this because I've been in this position before when I ran HomeAid Orange County, but is there a groundbreaking expected? Kind of what are the details that people should know that are either watching or listening that
Yeah, well, yeah, it takes a while because it's a big project. So there's a lot of fundraising, but there's a lot of, other pieces that come together with city, county, um, low income housing, all of that has taken a while. But I feel like I think I was actually just working on this morning about where we are. I'm like, we're ready to go. And I'm saying that we are, HomeAid is, and Shea Homes is. Um, and now it's just the finalizing. We have a small loan that's in underwriting now in that process, and then we'll get to get permits, but we're really ready for permitting. So our hope, I'm going to cross my fingers here and I'm knocking on wood too, is that we will have a groundbreaking ceremony this year. We just met with one of our funders, and we thought we'd be about December 1st be in finalize everything, but they think it will be sooner. So I hope they're right. And then as soon as we do that groundbreaking, then we're ready to go and they'll be in there digging a bunch of holes, leveling out our land. So definitely it will be in construction in 2026 for sure, but we'll hopefully get the land moving this year.
that's exciting. And Cindy, I know that on your end, this is a big project as well, and will take a lot of resources. And so I truly appreciate the consistency and the commitment that HomeAid Colorado has had over the years. Because as we often talk, the pre-development and getting ready it takes the long time, and now you're ready to go. What are your thoughts about what's next?
We're ready to go. We're hoping for a groundbreaking, moving some dirt. I'm going to say October. Let's shoot
All
for
right.
October, Laura.
Okay.
Um, because September's just next month. I would say
Yeah.
September, but all of a sudden it's next month. So I better go for October. We're very excited. We want, of course, here in Colorado with the weather and everything else, we're hoping for October because at least the weather would probably be a little bit nicer for us to all be out there with our shovels and everything else. But everybody is very excited. Can't wait to start. Norris Design, that's been working on the site plan, also does videotaping, and they're ready to roll, man. They want to start taping sooner rather than later. And so we're all very excited. And the trades that Shay has got into place, Fiore and Wayner, everybody's ready.
They've been wonderful. Yeah.
We're
They've all
we're
been.
ready.
That is great. And we'll make sure that through your communication, I know that people can follow both your organizations on various forms of social media, but we'll make sure that on our end from HomeAid America that we get that information out to people as well. So Laura, as we're kind of beginning to look to wrap things up, what else should our listeners know about Tall Tales Ranch? You alluded to coffee. I understand your organization's into coffee. Tell us a little bit about that, and maybe something else if needed about the work of Tall Tales.
Yeah. We have the Tall Tales Coffee Company, and it is a mobile coffee shop. Plus, we actually sell coffee and we send it out to people. We have shipments that go out every month from different organizations and people that buy our coffee. It's part of our work development program. All of our employees, we've hired 22 individuals with developmental disabilities. They're hired on just like regular staff, and they grind the coffee, bag the coffee, create the labels, do all of the pre-development work. And then we have a mobile coffee shop, which is a coffee trailer that we've had at Builders for Babies with HomeAid Colorado, where the ambassadors are actually on the trailer making coffee, making iced coffee, cold coffee, lattes, you name it. We do all of that in the mobile coffee trailer. And we also have a coffee catering business too. So that helps us sustain employees through the winter because you have to drain the trailer in the wintertime. So we have a coffee catering business. We'll go to like the Lone Tree Arts Center, birthday parties. We've done wedding receptions, things like that. Just catering coffee for those events too. It's been a really successful thing. A lot of companies have sponsored us to come out and serve coffee to their and their clients. So it's really a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite things to be at. So, and it's been very well supported. We used to say it's kind of like a bridge to our brick and mortar, but it's really well, it's two things. We'll have the brick and mortar, and we'll continue to have our mobile coffee shop too. But it's been a great success story for us.
Well, that's exciting. That aspect of micro business and that
Mhm.
social enterprise is so
Right.
critically important, not only
Mhm.
for the sustainability of Tall Tales, but to give people jobs and employment. And
Exactly.
that is great. So I know that many people drink coffee, so maybe they'll be motivated to check it
That'd
out
be great.
online, and if they're in the Colorado area, to utilize your mobile services. So
Our volunteers love having the Tall Tales coffee trailer at Builders for Babies, so we've done it for a couple of years now, I think.
I
It's
think
been a
it's
great
great.
it's a
Yeah.
great partnership to do that.
Right.
no, that's fantastic. Well, Cindy and Laura, as we're wrapping up, thank you for both for sharing this forward thinking and deeply human project. It personally resonates with me, as both of you know. And the Tall Tales Ranch really represents the expanded vision about what inclusive housing can truly look like and what partnerships over time can accomplish and the commitment that's there. So, to our listeners, if today's conversations inspired you, check out Tall Tales Ranch, check out HomeAid Colorado, and consider how intentional housing design can foster belonging. So visit the links in the show notes below. And until next time, I'm Scott Larson, and this is Unsheltered Conversations.